Good morning, everybody. This is Bill Dubois. We're getting ready to start Samuel, chapter 2.
Daniel.
What did I say?
Samuel.
I'll have to start over again.
No, this is okay.
No, I keep on making mistakes on these things. I want to do one right.
Daniel chapter 2.
Daniel chapter 2. Why did I say Solomon? I can't help myself.
Daniel chapter 2.
We're going to be in Daniel chapter 2. This is a barn burner. Let me tell you something, buddy. This is a barn burner out there. It is a great, great chapter. I mean, all of Daniel, I've been reading it, and it is, whoa.
And we're not telling you to burn anybody's barn.
No. Barn burner means that it's a page turn. So, we're getting ready to start Daniel chapter 2, verse 1, and we'll see how far we get into it. Okay? Enjoy this study, because this is a heck of a study. I really love this study. So I'll catch you guys on the other side. Bye.
Oh,
We're going.
That's interesting. Here we are in
Daniel,
Solomon, chapter 38.
Samuel, Daniel, Solomon, and
chapter 1014.
and the barbecue place. Solomon.
Oh, goodness. Wait a minute. Hey, we're Christians. We can't have fun, Bill. Hush.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
We have a lot of fun.
If you haven't figured that by now, it's actually Daniel, the book of Daniel. Kind of there in the middle of your Bible, and we're in chapter 2.
Well, it looks like the old Bill here, he has his days, and he hasn't had a good one yet. But hey.
He's waiting for a good one. Hey, you had a good one a few years ago when the Lord saved your wretched soul.
Amen to that.
Alrighty. Isn't that a wonderful feeling?
So, when I think of it now, Sam, can I get the title for our next Brother Proverbs on?
Proverbs?
Yeah.
You asked me now, huh? Let's say,
sure.
To know wisdom.
All right, I like
How about that? We'll just take that out of the Bible. How about to know wisdom? And that's K-N-O-W.
I know.
Okay.
All right, let's move on now to...
Now then, back in Samuel, Solomon, and Daniel, which are all good, which are all good studies.
Oh, you got me.
There's an old boy. Now, the last week was a good introduction. I like Daniel 1 with Daniel and his friends. Now, remember his friends, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Those were his friends. And he reiterates that again in Daniel chapter 2, which Daniel chapter 2 is rather long. It's 49 verses, I think.
Yeah, but the 2 is really a lot of introduction into what's going to happen with his friends.
Well, yes, it introduces, leads into what 3 and 4 is going to be, and all of them, they're all interesting, and I like the study because if you do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, consecutive like that. But there's an old boy here named Nebuchadnezzar.
That's him.
And he's going to have a dream, and to give you just a little snippet of his background, he was the chieftain, if you want to call it, of several tribes. He organized several tribes there in the Babylon area, and got them together, formed them rather strongly, and is king of Babylon. But from here in the first several verses of chapter 2, we find out that he is the ruler of the world, ruler of the known world, and with anyone that has a brain between their ears, he's going, what's going on? How did this happen? What's going on with this? Mm-hmm. And so the Lord actually, and I find it rather interesting too, back over a few pages to your left, because they're my servant. So this is going to be rather interesting. And again, let me say, Daniel, the book of Daniel, teaches, the bottom line, teaches God is in control. No matter where you are, geographically or emotionally or financially or wherever in your life, God, the God of heaven, is in control. That's what Daniel, there's a lot of stuff in here, so let's get to it. And a lot of people get spooked by Daniel and Revelation about the image and the dream and the this and that. Just take it one verse at a time and say, God's in control. This is what it's teaching us.
Right.
Now, Sammy, shut up and start reading.
Yep. Oh, this has been a heck of a day.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams. So, one version, I think, says the same one reoccurring. That may be what it was. Anyway, it was trouble. Wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. He had a troubled heart. Job 33:15-16. Maybe his heart was being troubled because of what was going on in his mind. He couldn't figure this out. He knew the dream. He knew what was going on, and it just kept happening. Well, what was this? The hand of God was giving this man a vision. Now, this is a pagan, idol-worshiping, one who has been called the Lord of the universe because he is Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians. And keep in mind, too, as we read this, there has never been an empire quite like Babylon, quite like the Babylonian Empire. Okay?
Well, we know that God's in control because he's doing this for a reason. Which is going to lift Daniel up to this man's, what's the word?
Prime ministry.
Well, he's going to lift him up to his confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and now keep in mind too, if you remember chapter 1, these four here, Daniel and his friends, along with several others, but these four are mentioned because they are elevated now, and during that 3-year training period, after that 36 months of brainwashing, remember that? Nebuchadnezzar says, these Jewish fellers, these Judeans, they're 10 times wiser and smarter than all the rest of them in my whole empire. Yeah. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans. Now, if you want to lump that up into one category, from now on, if I can think about it, I'm just going to say the occultists, the cult leaders. I'm just going to call them the cult leaders right there. So they came and stood before the king. Now, this is troubling him in his heart. Now, for a man to have a dream and him not understand what's going on and him be concerned about it, okay, not just I got a hold of some bad wine last night and my mind was crazy, but he's having this dream and he knows there's something not only in his head, but like Job says, his heart's troubled. God is speaking to him and he's, what's going on? What's going on? So he's called his cabinet now before him. And he goes, okay, here, fellas, I got a job for you, okay? This is big. This is something big. 3 says, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. And I like the words that he used there, my spirit. He understands that he has one. So he is anxious to understand this dream, the same dream over and over again. It's important to him. I want an answer to this. Then spake the Chaldeans, the occult priests, astrologers, soothsayers, and all that. Put yourself in that situation. Go back with me in your mind there to them standing before him. Now then, I want you to also note from this verse right here, that they spake to the king in Syriac, or yours may say Aramaic. Aramaic.
Yeah.
Okay? From this verse right here through, what is it? This is a big thing right here. From 4:4 to 7:28, all 7 is in Aramaic. Okay, we go now. What importance is that? It's because it goes from, and the God of heaven, the God of the Hebrews, puts this in here for a reason.
Because they didn't speak it.
He is now speaking not only to his little sliver nation over there of Israel, he's speaking to the world. This Aramaic language, Syriac language, is the language of the commercial, political, intellectual, and common everyday use language. So the God of heaven has 3 chapters here, from 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 chapters in the Bible that are not in Hebrew. They're in Aramaic. That's significant because he's saying, I'm talking to the world now.
Is it kind of like when the United States English is the language of the world's business and finances.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that FAA, the towers, in all the countries around the world, their air traffic controllers have to speak English in order for them to...
At least it's translated into English, yeah.
Well, no, when they talk to the crew, it has to be in English.
Right.
Because you can't learn thousands of languages, so
Right.
they said, we'll just see the United States. So English would be the dominant language, just like this would be at that time.
I'm glad you said dominant and not official, because I don't know if it's ever been labeled officially as our language by our government.
No.
I think it's just
But
English.
you know, before, all businesses were conducted with U.S. dollars, were conducted in English, and then if it's pretty important, if they're going to use it.
This
for
is
air
the
traffic
importance here,
controls,
yeah, because this is what that area, the known world, the conquered world, would have understood this, and God said, and see how wise God is. So He says in Syriac, "O King, live forever." Now, of course, He's not going to live forever. Why? Because I don't know, He may have a bad heart. He may kill over in a couple of years. But they're buttering Him up. They're flattering
What's
Him.
going to happen to him?
So we know He's got at least 7 more years left, right?
Right.
That's
a good way of putting it.
Yeah, we know that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, live forever, at least for another 7 years.
That's right.
Moving on, tell thy servants, notice it's plural there, the dream, and we will show the interpretation. Now, what did they ask of what did they request of the king just then? Oh, okay, so they've all gotten together. Now this happened. He summons them. They come into his court, into his realm there where he is. He's called them. So all these several magicians and astrologers and occult leaders, they're dark, deal in darkness, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Falsies, I like to call them too. They come before him and he says, "Men, I have had a dream. And then I had another dream, and I had the dream again, and now I'm troubled. And in fact, I'm so troubled, I'm anxious about this. It's important to me. I can't even sleep at night. I keep having this dream." And they go, "Okay, well, O King, live forever. Oh, we bow before you. O King, live forever," which is a bunch of hooey, because he's not going to live forever. Why they say that is just a flattery. They're flattering him with that word of, "Oh, we want your reign to be forever. We're so pleased with what you're doing." And he says, "I have a dream," and they say, "Well, tell us what the dream is, and we'll tell you what it means." Make sense so far? Yeah, okay. Here's where we are.
Yep, but it's going to get a little interesting.
It gets a little itchy here in a minute, don't it? Yeah. 5 says, "The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill." Now that line there, let's not misinterpret what 5 says. My ruling, what I'm telling you, is come out of my mouth. Here's my ruling. Not that he forgot the dream. Read yours. Read your 5 there.
My 5 says, "But the king said to his astrologers, I am serious about this. If you don't tell me what my dream was and what it means, you will be torn limb from limb, and your houses will be turned into heaps of rubble."
No, I know the other book says dumb.
Mm-hmm. No. Oh, well, that's about what it would amount to.
Yeah.
Useless, worthless, in other words.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, let me read you my notes on 5 there.
Okay.
It's very interesting and important to note how God is in charge of all, and not just little old Israel, but all of His universe. He rules and reigns His universe. From Hebrew to Aramaic there in 4, and from Jewish language to the world language. Why? So all can know and understand God is in charge of all at all times. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in the American Standard, in the 1901 American Standard, let me read, I quoted this from there. This is from the 1901 American Standard Bible. "The word is gone forth from me. I will not change my mind about this judgment. I am pronouncing, and don't beg me to tell you the dream. So that's what that version said, which is pretty plain.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar says, if you are true in your interpretation, then first you will tell me what the dream is itself. So in other words, he may have had a little bit of scratching his mind from time to time in the days leading up to this first time he had the dream of, I wonder if old so-and-so over there is really as wise as he thinks he is. He calls himself an astrologer, so he studies the stars. And I've asked him a time or two about something, and he made something up, or he told me something, and now that I'm not so sure. So now then, to make sure these wise men, quote unquote, are wise men of Babylon, he says, here's the thing. I know what my dream is, and I want you to tell me not only the interpretation, but if you can tell me what my dream is and the interpretation of it, then you're wise men. That's a true test.
Amen.
That's actually rather wise of Nebuchadnezzar to say it like that. If you people are really allowed to be in my court and wear some of these high hats and be my Supreme Court justices and my leaders and stuff like that, and when you walk out through my area here and people go, oh, that's so-and-so, he's one of the wise men, I want you to be able to prove it.
Amen to that.
It's pretty good thing here.
Yeah. I didn't take that analogy, but it makes sense.
This is what he's saying. So to tell me the dream and the interpretation thereof, if you don't do it, you're going to be cut in pieces. So now then this, you have to understand, huh?
They're probably going, happy.
Yeah. Well, I want you to notice here in the next few verses what they come up with this. First of all, they're going to stall for time, and then they're going to tell him, well, that's an unreasonable demand that you have. That's an unreasonable request because why? And I love their answer in verse 10. So let's get to it. It says, 6, but if you show the dream and the interpretation of this is Nebuchadnezzar, we're talking about that. Now, go with me. Nebuchadnezzar was known, if you do a little bit of study on him personally, he was rather an emotional leader. He could get really mad sometimes, he could get really happy sometimes, he could get really giddy sometimes, he could be down sometimes. He ruled with emotion, with his emotions, and a lot of times by his emotions. That's why you've heard me say before, thank God, the God of heaven doesn't rule by his emotions. I don't know if any of us would be here if he did.
Amen to that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
6 says, but if ye show me the dream and the interpretation of, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. Okay? That way, quote unquote, you can put this in quotation and a little parentheses there by that verse, I'll know you're telling me the truth. If you can tell me what my dream is. Because here's the thing, Bill, if you look at it this way, here's my dream, wise men. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you this. All of them together. They all hear it together at the same time. And then they go out, and that later on that day or the next day they come to him, they have their councils, stuff like that, and they go, well, here's the meaning of your dream. This so-and-so that you saw, or this whatever, they could come up with something like that. And it would be on the side of appeasing the king. He doesn't want that.
No.
He wants to know that they can tell him what he has dreamed in his mind and his spirit and what it means.
Hey, guys, earn your pay.
That's a good way to put it. Hey, guys, earn your pay.
Earn your pay.
7 says, they answered again and said, now, first of all, I don't know this. Here again, there is a little bit of bickering back and forth with these next few verses, 7, 8, 9, 10. Him being Nebuchadnezzar, at that moment, he could have just said, you know what I just said back in verse 5, bam! He's actually listening to him barter with him back and forth. So this lets you know God is behind this. These next verses here, if you want to take part of that out of there, you can say, and it's not written there, but go with me in my mind, in your spirit, and what these verses say. He just said, if you don't tell me what the dream is and what it means, I'm gonna have you cut in pieces.
That's right.
All I have to do is go,
who's first?
Arioch, whoever,
Who's first?
Yeah. Sure enough. 7 said, they said again and said, let the king tell his servants, the dream, and we will show you the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain the time. You're asking for time, okay? Because ye see the thing is gone from me. Okay, so this is a real test this time here.
Mhm.
He knows it, but he's not telling them. But if you will not make known, verse 9, unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. That would be capital punishment. I'm gonna cut your head off, and then we'll cut the rest of your members off too. For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed, or until your lies are gonna. You're working on time right now. You're stringing this out here. Okay. Therefore, tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. Are you real or are you fake?
Right.
Should you be in my court or should you not be in my court? This is what he's saying. Now then, read your 10. I love this. I love one of the little lines in here. Read your 10 there.
The astrologers replied to the king, no one on earth can tell the king his dream, and no king, lowercase, however great and powerful no great and powerful has ever asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or astrologer.
Now, did you notice there right in the middle it says, upon the earth? Well, they're right. Doggone it, they're right. Absolutely, these guys are talking back to the king here, and they're saying something that is absolutely correct. He has a task for them. He's absolutely right in the way he's putting it forth to them. Now, remember, this is the king of Babylon. This is the leader of the world. Pagans, they worship anything and everything. What lists the astrologers? They study the stars. The Chaldeans, if you'll remember back in the land of Ur, where Abraham was pulled out of, downtown Idolsville. Remember that from last week, week 4. All these that are listed there, that's why it keeps listing them in that way. That there's no man upon the earth that can show the king the matter. Therefore, there is no king, lord, or ruler that asks such a thing of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. Notice how it keeps listing them. The magician, the dark magic, they deal in dark magic. They do whatever that they can darkly to find dark spirits to let them know what's going on, which was happening at the time. It's a real thing. It still is. Or astrologers or Chaldeans, idol worshippers. 10 says earth. Well, let's flip forward right quick to 18 and look at the difference between Daniel and who he goes to for help, what his source is. That they would desire mercies of the God of heaven.
Right.
Notice the difference there. What about that? Now then, look, if you'll find it, 18, 28, 37, and 44. The God of heaven, the God which is in heaven, God of heaven, the God of heaven, the God of heaven. Over and over again. Once you get past the darkness, once you get past the idol worshippers, once you get past what the world has to offer, God sheds his light and he says, I'm the God of heaven. I'm the God of heaven. I'm the God that's in heaven. I'm the God that rules from heaven. 4 times in this word. And Daniel says, that's who I put my trust in. I'm seeking the mercies of the God of heaven. In fact, when we get there, as a little snippet, prelude to it, Daniel has such faith and it exercises his faith in the God of heaven that he tells the king, I'll tell you what your dream is and the interpretation thereof before God told Daniel.
True.
Ooh.
Right.
Now that's faith.
Because when he goes back, he went home and told his friends what had happened. He urged them to ask the God of heaven to show them his mercy by telling them the secret.
Now there, when I read that and studied that, I put myself right along with Daniel, and we were running. Daniel's like, woo-wee, I just told the king a big thing. And this, folks, keep in mind, is a life or death situation.
Oh, yeah.
The decree has gone out. Why does Daniel know? He's one of them. He's one. Remember, he and his 3 friends there are in this lot. They've been put in this lot. They've studied with these for the last 3 years now. So they are all with these Chaldeans and astrologers and magicians and occultists and stuff like that. But remember, Daniel has purposed in his heart to do what God wants him to do. Absolutely. So he blurts out. He speaks out. I'll tell you, king, what your dream is and the interpretation of. Phew. He goes back to his place. Get on your knees, boys. Come on. We got some praying to do. That's faith. That's faith.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I'm sure they didn't sit down and just discuss it. They just prayed.
They prayed. In fact, that's
And it
how
came to them.
It came to him, and the first thing they did, he didn't get back up and rush to the king. He gave God the glory for it. Thank God. Beautiful prayer we'll get to here momentarily. Notice, though, the difference between the earth. Absolutely, there's nobody on earth that can tell you that. Notice what Joseph, way back over in Genesis again, we mentioned him earlier in the other class. Joseph, when he was an interpreter of dreams, he was a dreamer and an interpreter of dreams, he always gave God the glory for it. Always.
Well, if it hadn't been for God, he would never know what the dream meant.
Absolutely. Verse 11 says, "And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods." Oh my goodness. Now wait a minute. So I wonder at this moment, whose dwelling is not with the flesh. 11 says, they kind of stepped in it right there. You notice that?
Yeah.
So if you'll take that out, Nebi says, you're smart. You smart. All you smart guys here, now prove it. And they went, well, wait a minute. There's nobody here on this earth that can tell you this. This is a rare thing. Only the gods can tell you that. Well, aren't you in cahoots with the gods? You're my magicians. You're my Chaldeans over here that know all the gods. You're the idol worshippers, idol makers. And you astrologers over here, you watch all the stars and everything up in the planetary system up there. You know what's going on at day and night and stuff like that. You just said that you don't know on this earth because only the gods know. It's a rare thing that anybody ever asked them. I thought you were like that with them. Now prove it. I like Nebuchadnezzar's attitude about this. It's tough, it's staunch, it's straight, but he's right. This is what government officials should do with their own counselors today. You want me to rule? You want to help out? Let's do some right stuff.
If they can't he doesn't let anybody resign. He resigns them
This is true. This is one thing.
Permanently.
This is one thing that Nebi had that a democracy, quote unquote,
Up with the head.
a constitutional republic, which I wish we kind of instilled back, what Romans 11, 12, and 13 talks about. Sure do. Does the government, does the rulers bear the sword in vain? Alrighty. So I like that right there. So here's their answer again. Turn over, Bill, to Genesis 41. Genesis chapter 41, verse 39. And I want to turn over to Isaiah.
Genesis 39.
Isaiah 45:5 says, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. So the Lord, again, by Isaiah 45, he said this several times already about him being the only true God. So what is Genesis
41:39 says, Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or wise as you are.
So notice this Egyptian ruler at the time
I'll be dang.
told Joseph, since your God, the God that one that you worship has revealed it. So now by Genesis 41, we had a pretty big introduction to the God of heaven by this time. And so there's the Pharaoh that knew Moses, and then this one here that later on they didn't know the God of Moses or the God of Joseph, and then haywire to that. But notice he says, he gave him proper credit there. Isaiah, all throughout Isaiah, I'm the Lord their God. Deuteronomy, I'm the Lord. There's only one Lord, that's me. I'm God. It's all about me. And he deserves to say that. So here in 11, they say, these cult members, these magicians, say that they really don't have any communications with heaven or anything that's out there. So, and we read it earlier, I think, 1 Corinthians 8, 4 through 6, they're not real gods, and of course they don't exist or live anywhere. So 1 Corinthians 8, 4 through 6 talks about these idol worshipers, and Paul is saying, I haven't come into Corinth or any other town to destroy what you have built up. I'm just going to tell you that there's a real one. And this is what's going on here, the real God. Remember, God is in control. This is what Daniel talks about.
It sure is.
12 says, for this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. I want to hold on just a minute. What did we just say? Who is lumped into these wise men now? Daniel and his 3 friends. So the story doesn't stop there, because wait a minute, we've got a few more chapters here, so there's got to be something that goes on, right?
Right.
Because right there, at that moment, here again, folks, stop just a moment, at that period, put yourself in that, the king opened his mouth and he said, I want all of my wise men. You're not wise. You're unfit to be called wise men. You're not magicians. You're not real astrologers. You're not. You may be from Chaldea. You may be from the land of Ur, but you're not. There's no communication between you and those gods that you make. Now, also think what's going on not only in his mind and his emotions. What is going on in Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of the world? What's going on in his spirit right now? I thought these people could tell me what to do. I need some help in this situation. I'm going to go crazy. I'm just going to go crazy.
So his decree is because he's pissed. He's angry. And then, of course, it's not a good idea to make judgments or rulings when you're angry.
This is true. And keep in mind too that this guy doesn't ask anybody else. When he says something, that's just the way it is. It's going to get even tighter with the next leader, with the Persians and the Medes. From when Daniel meets the old Cyrus, the Persian leader.
Yeah.
The rule with the Persians was not even once the king says something, not even the king could retract it. It was the law.
Right.
So here, the Babylonian Empire. He said, "This man says, y'all make me mad."
Is that where they ended up in the lion's den? That's where Daniel ended up in the lion's den.
Well, eventually,
Mm-hmm.
but old Nebu's and the next leaders said about it. So, 13 says, "And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel, his fellows to be slain." So now then, there's a decree. It goes out. At least it's not like at that moment. He don't round up his executioners and they just start chopping people's heads off and cutting them in sunder. There's a decree. It's an actual official thing from the throne, from his throne room, and the decree goes out. This has been decreed from. So there's a process. Thank God for that. There's a process from his government that this happens. So now then, his slayers are starting to round the people up. Gee, who's that sound like today? You don't have a shot? Oh, never mind. Oh my goodness, Lord help us. What did I write in there? Daniel, Daniel and his buddies have been trained with these guys here, okay? So 14 says, "Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch." Remember we were introduced to Arioch back in one, the chief guard there, his head of his secret service.
Well, he was the one that gave him authorization to eat the veggies.
Mm-hmm. And no, that was
No? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was him.
no, that was Ashpenaz.
Ah.
Yeah, remember them?
Yeah.
So Arioch, a different group here. One's over the kitchen.
He was the chief of staff.
Yeah.
This guy is the commander of the king's guard.
Right, he's the captain of the King's Guard. Absolutely, he's the boss of the Secret Service. So in other words, and keep in mind what's going on here. This guy's with the king quite a bit. He's in his presence quite a bit. Okay, this Arioch, which in middle 14, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. And he answered and said to Daniel, answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree so hasty from the king?" Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Now notice that right there. Notice how wise Daniel spoke there. The Lord gave him this. He didn't say, "Why am I going to be killed? I haven't done anything. There's some innocent people." The thing that he asked, notice what he asked. Why is the decree so hasty? why did the king put this to be done so quickly? That's what he asked. That's a very wise thing. Arioch's going, I know right now. Well, I won't spoil it. Let's read it. I just wrote in my column, Arioch went, well, you know how he is. So, that's what I wrote. That's Sammy's version. Well, you know how he is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Then 16 says, then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Well, wait a minute, hold on. This is how high up Daniel already is after just a little over 36 months. In his second year of reign, so he's had 36 months plus a little proving time. So he actually has the ability to go up to this man and go, I need to see the king. And Arioch goes, okay. It says right there in the verse, he went to the king. Well, that's pretty stout. That's pretty hey already. Mm-hmm. You know, he says, who's out there? Who knocked at my door? Daniel. Okay, send him in. He knows him.
Well,
Keep in mind.
Yeah, he knows him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Where are we?
17.
Oh, I love my new pens that I told you about. Look at all that. Look at those beautiful.
Yeah.
I won't say rainbow colors, but isn't that pretty? It lets me know where I am in my study
You
here.
call it a prism of colors.
A prism. Yes, there you go. What did I write on 15? Daniel nicely asked the boss of the king, his marshal, chief marshal, secret service, hey, why is this so hasty? Wonders if Arioch is kind of, when he said Arioch kind of raised his eyebrows to Daniel and said, my, King Nebi is in one of his moods today. Sorry, fellows, but I got to kill you. The king's in one of his moods today.
You're kind of making it more. When you say those notes like that, Sam, you're making it so personal.
Well, I got to put myself there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think of it. Notice in those verses there, we can read that. I'm not reading anything into them. I'm just saying it in today's vernacular.
You're just saying it as if it was today.
Why, Daniel probably went, why did he say this so quick? What's going on here? And Arioch says, well, you know how he is. He's one of them hasty things that he just does.
Well, we know that.
He's in a mood today.
You
He's
know those same
Monday.
things behind the king's back, right?
Yeah. And I wrote, one of those little frowny faces. Sorry, fellows. So Daniel actually questions why so urgent. What's the rush? And Proverbs 15:1. I love Proverbs 15:1. Maybe Daniel had heard about this. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Mm-hmm. A soft answer turneth. We'll get to that in our Proverbs study. So here he is, and he says in 16. I love this. He said he desired to see the king. Now, his desire to see the king, he's thinking not only of himself. Remember, Daniel's humble, but also his friends there. Okay?
He's also thinking about the other ones that may not just those other three friends.
Absolutely.
But he's thinking about all the other
whole
people.
realm.
Because there's a bunch of people that are getting up ready to get their heads cut off.
There's fixing to be a lot of people, and they are pagans and everything, but they're innocent of this situation.
Right.
And Daniel's like, oh, I'm going to stand in the line. I'm going to stand in the line here.
Right.
So 17 says, then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions. And I love it because that's the Hebrew names there. Even, folks, listen to me, why I made such a big to-do about why it's gone from Hebrew writing to Aramaic. Even in the middle of the writing in Aramaic, God still says, that's not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These are my guys down here. This is not Belteshazzar, Daniel. They changed the name to Belteshazzar. Mm-hmm. One who worships Baal, one who worships the false god. He says, no, this is Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. They pray. They're asking God reveal that they're praying on praying to God's mercy right now, folks. Let me tell you. Let me say this again. That should be the sinner's prayer, and that should be every believer's prayer, even after conversion, after salvation, after He has mercy on you, is to continue to pray for God's mercy on your life. I cannot tell God what to do. I can beg for His help and His guidance and His mercy, thank Him for His grace and His patience on me, and then beg Him for His mercies in a situation. And this is what they're doing. They're praying. Note that Daniel 2:18, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven. That's all we've got, folks. And he's going to have mercy on them. Concerning the secret, these mysteries revealed to us what's going on here. Because Daniel has just said in the previous verse, remember folks, he said in the previous verse, can I have audience with the king? Arioch says, yes, go on in. Nebuchadnezzar said, who is it? It's Daniel. Come on in. He stood right before the king. He said, King Nebuchadnezzar. Notice he didn't say, oh, live forever. Notice he didn't bow down to him later. He just looked him man to man and said, I'll tell you what your dream is and what it means. Mm-hmm. Then he goes and to his friends and says, get on your knees, boys. We've got some praying to do. And they beg for it. Notice that, folks. You've got to notice that. Bring that out in your mind. Do you have that faith? Do I have that faith this morning to go, I can tell you what's going on. Lord, tell me to tell him what's going on. That's mm-hmm. This is where we are. Okay, so we got to wrap this up. Let me get to, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Let me read his prayer. This is a wonderful prayer. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the, he didn't rush off back to the king. Notice this, folks, in 19, he did not rush back to the king and go, I know the answer. Look at me, I'm so great and wonderful. No, he did not. I'd like to say he fell upon his knees again, because we read that later on, how he prayed 3 times a day back towards Jerusalem. Daniel answered, verse 20 there, and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings, and he setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light knoweth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hath made known unto me all that we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Now I read that. Next week we'll pick back up, Lord willing. We're all still here, unless we've been raptured. Amen. And Bill, if the rapture happens, I'll see you 7 years later when you're going through that really tough time. Anyway, he just crossed his arms and shook his head. You know the difference now between the Bema and the...
Yes, I surely do.
All righty.
I mean, it won't be 7 years for me. I'll be with you.
You'll be right there behind.
Yeah.
Bill Dubois Sound Hall. Uh-oh, hey.
Well, no. We'll be enough for the one. She'll be ahead of us.
All right. Anyway, I'm going to bring out some verses, New Testament and Old Testament verses in that prayer. Lovely prayer of Daniel right there. So let's leave off right there and then start back with verse 20 next week. All right. Any questions about that? That's some good stuff. Daniel. Oh.
I love Daniel.
Daniel's good stuff. Daniel, Samuel.
I love the way it's written.
Daniel, Samuel, and Solomon.
There you go.
Yep.
Got them all in one voice there.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, thank you, folks.